Hello, and welcome to India Career Centre audio blog, where we explore the ideas shaping our future. Today's topic is Indian ITES sector, hype and reality through the lens of H-1B visa exposé, written by SP Mishra and read by an automated voice. The Indian IT and IT-enabled services, ITeS sector has long been celebrated as a cornerstone of India's economic ascent. With titans like TCS, Infosys, Wipro, and Cognizant at the helm, the industry generated approximately $283 billion in revenue in FY 2025, employing over 5 million professionals and cementing India's status as the global outsourcing capital. Exports remain its lifeblood, reaching $224 billion, about 27% of India's total exports, $825 billion, and nearly 58% of services exports, $387.5 billion. Media narratives often glorify Indian talent as the engine behind Silicon Valley's innovation. Yet, beneath this sheen lies a troubling reality, exposed through the US H-1B visa program, a system intended for skilled foreign workers, but plagued by decades of systemic abuse. Recent developments, including President Trump's executive order imposing a $100,000 one-time fee on new H-1B applications, have reignited scrutiny. This move, framed as a response to program abuse harming American workers, disproportionately affects Indian nationals, who receive roughly 72% of H-1B visas. Two recent exposés, a Hindu podcast featuring journalist Tanul Thakur and a Bloomberg investigation, reveal how Indian ICE firms exploit loopholes, partnering with US corporations to prioritize cost-cutting over genuine innovation. Drawing on these sources and scholarly critiques by Ron Hira and Norm Matloff, this essay unpacks the hype versus reality, exposing an industry built on displacement, exploitation, and lobbying rather than technological excellence. The origins and flawed foundations of the H-1B program. The H-1B visa, created under the 1990 Immigration Act, was marketed as a solution to a STEM talent shortage in the US. However, as Thakur explains in his Hindu interview, the program's foundation was based on a flawed 1986 National Science Foundation study predicting an engineer shortfall by 2006, a claim debunked by a 1992 congressional probe. Despite this, the narrative endured, leading to annual caps of 65,000 visas, later expanded to 85,000 through exemptions for academia and non-profits, reforms shaped by aggressive tech lobbying. Thakur, author of the forthcoming book Wild Wild East, Exiled Americans, Enslaved Indians, and the Systemic Abuse of the H-1B program, calls the program a scam that's so deep, so gargantuan, so mind-bendingly complex, that it makes Trump look like a softie. He highlights prevailing wage loopholes that allow employers to pay at the lowest tiers, often at the 17th or 34th percentile, saving $70,000 to $100,000 per worker annually. UC Davis professor Norm Matloff concurs. Abuse of H-1B and green cards, including paying below-market wages and handcuffing workers to keep them from going to another employer, is widespread. Bloomberg's investigation confirms that the program, largely unchanged since the dot-com era, now sees 80% of petitions for Indian workers, driven more by outsourcing than genuine skill shortages. This foundation reveals the uncomfortable truth. Indian IT's global dominance is not solely merit-based, but heavily reliant on a visa system optimized for importing cheap labor. Systemic abuses by Indian ITS firms. Central to the exposé is how Indian ITS giants, TCS, Infosys, Wipro, and Cognizant, have manipulated the H-1B system. Thakur describes Desi consultancies, small Indian-run body shops that fabricate resumes, conduct proxy interviews, paying experts $500, $1,000 to impersonate applicants, and offer on-job support to underqualified hires. Larger firms exploit alternatives like the L1 visa, which lacks caps or wage minimums, enabling Bangalore-level salaries in Seattle. Bloomberg reveals how firms flood the H-1B lottery with multiple applications per candidate. One case involved 80 entries, despite 2024 USCIS reforms. A whistleblower complaint against TCS alleges discriminatory hiring practices favoring Indian workers through fake job postings. Ron Hira, a Howard University professor and longtime critic of the program, notes that outsourcing firms pay H-1B workers 25 to 50% less than their American counterparts, suppressing wages across the industry. He states, The H-1B program is now being used primarily by outsourcing companies to displace American workers and facilitate the offshoring of jobs. Examples are stark. In 2015, Southern California Edison forced U.S. star employees to train H-1B replacements from Indian firms under NDAs. Bloomberg recounts Harley-Davidson outsourcing IT to Infosys, where an American trained his Indian replacement before being laid off. Thacker estimates that 75% of H-1B workers perform routine maintenance, not innovation, contradicting the sector's self-image. Infosys, for instance, paid a $34 million fine in 2013 for visa fraud. An ex-post from @ek_ilan questions, is what they are doing illegal? Highlighting underpayment and systemic exploitation. This cycle perpetuates exploitation. Indian workers are tethered to employers under threat of deportation, while the sector's success rests on routine work rather than breakthrough innovation. Partnerships with US giants and the role of lobbying. Indian ITeS firms operate in tandem with American giants like Amazon, Microsoft, Google, and even non-tech players like Disney and Siemens. Thacker exposes a backdoor alliance between academia and corporate America, where universities hire unlimited H-1Bs at low wages, funneling talent to tech firms. Bloomberg notes that US companies subcontract routine tasks to Indian outsourcers, using knowledge transfer to replace domestic workers. Lobbying sustains this ecosystem. Organizations like NASSCOM and the US Chamber of Commerce advocate for visa expansions, countering reform efforts. Thakur critiques the Intel's good, Infosys's bad myth, which scapegoats Indian firms while US corporations benefit. Matloff agrees. The visa abuse also implicates American firms. The recent fee hike triggered backlash from the Indian industry, with stocks dipping 2 to 5%. An ex-thread from @TheRetail Indian warns, policy explicitly targets TCS, Infosys, Wipro business model, systemic abuse allegations. This symbiosis misleads policymakers, sustaining hype while eroding worker protections. The human cost and hype versus reality. While Indian IT is hailed as innovative, the reality is a workforce largely engaged in back-office operations, increasingly vulnerable to AI and policy shifts. Thakur likens the situation to parasite. Both Indian and American workers are victims of corporate exploitation. Displaced Americans face joblessness. Kevin Flanagan's 2003 suicide after training his replacement remains a haunting example. For Indian workers, it's a form of enslavement, choosing US exploitation over limited domestic opportunities. Hira warns of widespread corporate abuse, while Bloomberg calls for reforms like higher wage thresholds to attract genuine talent. The sector's reality: stagnation in product innovation, brain drain, and economic fragility. Conclusion: the H-1B Exposé dismantles the myth of Indian IT's meritocratic rise, revealing a model built on exploitation, lobbying, and systemic abuse. As Thakur puts it, Elon Musk is flat out wrong when he says the H-1B program is broken. It is functioning as intended. Pro-city corporations underpay foreign workers, snub American professionals, and mint money. Urgent reforms are needed to restore integrity, prioritizing merit over cost and protecting workers on both sides of the globe. Thanks for tuning in to India Career Center. If you enjoyed listening to the blog post, please subscribe to the channel. Please share it with others and rate us 5 stars. See you soon in the next episode with some insightful thoughts to inspire you in your personal and professional life.